What's up guys? So today I've got my hands on a brand new compact mini PC. This is the ACEPC WizBox G. Now let me show you quickly what you get inside the box. You've got a user manual, an HDMI cable, and a power supply, so it's a regular laptop sized power supply, and last but certainly not least, the mini PC itself. So check it out guys, we have a very interesting design finished in this eye-catchy yellow color. I believe you can pick this up in other colors too. It says WizBox G in the center. At the bottom in small fonts it says the mini PC for gamers. So this is actually designed for gaming guys. Now on the front you've got a power button but also a control knob. So you've got three modes to choose from: silent mode, automatic, or performance mode, which will give you the maximum power. You've got LED lights, so when you power on, all of this is going to light up. So it's going to look quite nice on your desk. On the front, we've got an audio jack. That's probably going to be a combo headphone / microphone jack, two USB 3 ports, and we have one USB-C port. On the back of the unit, we have a reset hole, two more USB 3 ports. We've got two HDMI 2.0 ports, a 2.5 gigabit LAN, power socket, and a Kensington lock. At the bottom of the box, you can just see some ventilation. Now let me just run you guys through the specs so you know what we're dealing with. So this mini PC is powered by the AMD Ryzen 7735HS, which is an octa-core processor clocked at 3.2 GHz base and up to 4.8 GHz turbo. And for graphics, we have the integrated AMD Radeon 680M. Furthermore, we've got 32 gigabytes of DDR5 RAM, upgradable up to 64 gigs. We've also got a 512 gigabyte M.2 NVMe SSD, and that can also be upgraded to a maximum of 2 terabytes. And I believe we also have a 2.5-inch SATA enclosure inside, and that can be up to 5 terabytes. We've also got 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi and Bluetooth 5.2. This is running Windows 11 Professional. This supports triple 4K display output. So you've got two HDMI ports and one USB-C port on the front. So you can output to 3 displays at the same time in 4K 60 Hz. And there is also a built-in cooling fan. So we're going to quickly check out the internals and the upgrade options. You don't even need a screwdriver, guys. The side panel just comes off. It's held on magnetically. So you can see the magnets over here, and that gives you access to the internals. So over here you can see we have a 512 gigabyte M.2 NVMe SSD, and that can be swapped out for a 2 terabyte drive max, but then you'll have to reinstall Windows yourself. Over here you can see we've got a SATA. Over here you can see we have a compartment and a connection for a SATA hard drive, and this supports up to a 5 terabyte SATA drive. So 2.5-inch SATA drive, it can even be an SSD. And over here, you can see our RAM. We've got 2 sticks of RAM. So we've got 16 gigs of DDR5 RAM in each slot, giving us 32 gigs total. But you can actually have 32 gigs in each slot, giving you 64 gigs max. And you can see the brand we have for the RAM is ADATA. So I'm really liking that you can access those upgrades with ease. So without any further ado, I'm going to hook this up to my TV and capture card, and we're going to find out exactly what this thing can do. I'll be right back.
And this is Windows 11 Professional, offering you a full PC experience in a mini compact size. And this system is powerful enough to run all your regular Windows applications and games. And it comes with all the usual Windows apps, including the Windows App Store. Alright, so let's go ahead and open up System Properties. So as you can see, Windows 11 Professional, processor AMD Ryzen 7 7735HS. There's the clock speed. We've got 32 gigs of RAM, 64-bit operating system, and under activation you can see the status. It's activated and ready to use. So system storage info, we have 512 gigs of internal storage, from which 476 gigs are actually usable, and from that we have 112 gigs free. And the reason is I've already installed my Steam PC games, and that's why the storage is less than half. Before I installed those games, we had about 420 gigs free to use. Now the second drive you're seeing is my 64 gig flash drive, which contains all my 4K samples, which is exactly what we're going to be doing next. So let's run some 4K video samples from a USB drive, starting off with the high bitrate Jellyfish demo. The first video file is 160 megabits per second. So first video, high bitrate 4K Jellyfish demo, 160 megabits per second is playing nice and smooth. I also tested out the 180 megabits per second video, and as you guys can see, that is also playing pretty smooth. So no issues there. Let's test out the 400 megabits per second video file. So this PC handles high bitrate 4K demos from USB drive with no issues. So now we're testing some 4K 60 samples with various HDR formats, and we're still playing these directly from a USB flash drive, and you can see we have super smooth 4K video playback, and all of these samples are playing using the default media player. I did not even have to download any codecs to make this work. Every video file format I tested worked straight out of the box. Okay, so now we're moving on to some video streaming on YouTube, and yes, it does support 4K 60 with HDR, and streaming quality and performance is top notch with no issues. So just going to run a few more trailers for you guys to see.
Ooh. He's good. Too good. And anyone can afford.
Close as it comes. That's why we're proud to call Espanola my home.
Oh, shit.
Our home.
This is crazy.
Hold up, that was your wish? Not like, I don't know, world peace?
So next up I tested Netflix from the web browser, and as you can see 4K streaming with HDR is supported. Alright, so now we're moving on to some gaming, starting off with GTA 5. So we're playing GTA 5 at 1080p resolution, and the graphics is set to very high, and you can see we're achieving just under 60 frames per second and the TDP peaking up to 45 watts. So as you can see, the game is playing pretty good on very high settings. So we're playing something a bit more recent. This is The Plague Tale. Resolution is set to 1080p with the graphic preset set to high, and we're achieving around 24 frames per second with the TDP peaking at around 40 watts. So the game is playing, but certainly not the smoothest I've seen. 25 frames per second is not really enjoyable for this game. So now I want to see what happens if we try and drop down to 720p resolution, and we leave the graphics on medium. Check it out guys, we're achieving close to 50 frames per second now, playing in 720p medium graphics. So no doubt this game does require a decent graphics card to achieve better frame rates. At 720p this is actually still not bad, but at least you guys know that this game is playable, and you can see what sort of frame rates we can achieve. Okay, so now I've just attached a gaming drive to the Type-C port of this mini PC. The gaming drive has a whole bunch of emulation and PC games built into the drive, and the games are run directly off the drive. So you guys can see we're playing Spider-Man Remastered directly from an SSD drive plugged into the Type-C port, and we're achieving around 38 frames per second with the TDP peaking at around 40 watts. So yeah, game is pretty much playable, considering we are running this off an external hard drive. I think it's doing quite well on this system. So at 1080p original graphics, you can see
Still want me to tie it to the boat?
we're achieving frame rates of just under 30 frames per second with the TDP reaching around 40 watts peak. So it looks like most big graphically intense AAA games will run on this mini PC, but expect to play those games at 1080p resolution, medium graphics, and you're probably going to achieve no more than 30 frames per second. Okay, so next up, PS3 emulation with RPCS3, and we're playing Fight Night Champion on the default 720p settings. And you can see we're achieving 30 frames per second, and the game is running pretty well on this mini PC. Now Fight Night Champion is one of the harder to emulate PS3 games, so usually if this game runs on your system, you can pretty much run most popular PS3 games.
The ref is stopping this fight. Mike Tyson's giving these fans a thriller here.
Alright, so that brings us to our benchmarks, beginning with Geekbench single core score of 1551 and multi-core score of 9328. And in the ANTUTU benchmark test, we've achieved 688K. And finally, CPU benchmark score by Passmark, we have a score of 24,206. So let's see how this compares to the other mini PCs of this year. So here is my top performing mini PC chart for 2023, allowing you to compare the prices, specs and features. The ranking is based on benchmark scores. So looking at AnTuTu, Geekbench and Passmark, I give it an average and the mini PC gets ranked accordingly. So as you can see, the ACEPC WizBox G has achieved position 4 on this chart, achieving a slightly lower performance than the Beelink Sur6 Max. But otherwise, they do both share the same chipset. Furthermore, you can view all my latest charts online and free of charge at chigztech.com and read them at your leisure. So there you have it, guys. That was the ACEPC WizBox G, a premium mini PC designed for gaming. This mini PC has a lot to offer for its modest price. The vertical design looks cool. I like the performance dial on the power button. Fan noise is not too loud even on the highest performance mode, and it does do a good job in keeping the system cool throughout my tests and benchmarks. The magnetic cover means easy access to the internals, and upgrading options are available as I showed you earlier. You've got lots of connectivity, which includes 4 USB ports, 2 HDMI ports, Type-C port and a 2.5 gigabit Ethernet port. Performance is pretty good for everyday tasks like general web browsing, office applications, coding, graphics and even 4K video editing. AAA gaming is pretty decent. You can run most games at 1080p medium graphics to achieve around 30 frames per second or 720p resolution to get that frame rate closer to 60 frames. Nice affordable mini PC for school, college or uni, takes up minimal space on your desk. Processor is quite powerful and very capable. Windows 11 Professional comes pre-installed and activated, which is great. So for the price, this is a pretty good mini PC. Definitely looks the part. The ACEPC WizBox G. Let me know your thoughts. That's all for this video. Don't forget to like and sub. Thank you so much for watching and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.